What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Well, if you've been on the internet at all over the last couple of weeks, I'm sure you're well aware that World War III has begun. Russia invaded Ukraine, and now the Russian president is basically saying if anyone else gets involved, it's on like Donkey Kong and there will be consequences, which of course has sparked the conversation of the United States eventually getting into a conflict with Russia. Now, if we're being completely realistic, this would not be as fun as a lot of people like to pretend. It would be absolutely horrific, and we probably have the greatest military in the entire world. So I'm confident this would not get to the civilian level. But if it did, which gun or weapon would you grab to protect yourself, your family, and your country? The reality is something as simple as shutting off the internet would probably kill half the American population, and that's extremely easy to do. So I realize this discussion has a lot of layers to it, but this isn't a prepping channel, it's a gun channel. So we're gonna talk about the guns and try to have fun with a very uncomfortable topic. So I'm approaching this from strictly a gun idiot's point of view. I'm not a Navy SEAL, I'm not a politician. Feel free to have the political and ideological discussions down in the comments, but we're not gonna do that in this video. We're talking about guns. If Russians were to invade on foot with physical bodies on the ground, which is extremely unlikely, which gun would I pick to defend against that? So number one on my list, thinking a little outside the box, is the can cannon. Now I know what you're thinking, that's not a weapon, and you would be correct, but what do Russians love more than anything in the world? Vodka. You put a bottle of vodka in the can cannon, launch it several hundred yards into their area, and wait a couple hours. They're gonna get obliterated because they won't be able to resist. Then you pick up a rifle, and that is how we defeat the Russians. I'm a genius. End of the video. Like, subscribe. So these have been in my truck for about a month. They were frozen. Hopefully they don't explode in the barrel. Yes. That would absolutely get the job done. We've got a Russian combatant there. Let's see if we can hit him. So the can cannon has to be my number one choice because it's such a genius idea. But now we're gonna get into some real firearms. And first up, we've got the shotgun. So this is actually gonna be the first gun that I would not recommend. I love shotguns, you all know that, but for a situation like this, it would not be my first choice. There's a reason they don't give our entire military pump action shotguns. They just don't reach out as far as something like a rifle does. But we have a Russian combatant at pretty close range there. Let's see if we can take him out. Now that's birdshot, and at 10 yards away, it did the job, but you can see that's like a 10-inch spread, so at longer range, these are just not gonna be nearly as effective. Also, reloading. So with a rifle, you can just quickly swap the magazine. With a shotgun, you have to, insert each shotgun shell individually, and I feel like that would be a nightmare in a combat situation. Let's try and finish off that shaving cream down there on the ground. There we go. Headshot. So again, I love shotguns, but the Joe Biden special would not be my first choice if the Russians were to invade. I think we got one more in here. All right, so the first rifle that I would absolutely recommend for obvious reasons is gonna be the AR-15. So this is my BCM, it's a pretty good one, but any AR would work. And I imagine if this nightmare scenario were to actually play out, 90% of the guns you would see would be ARs of some sort. Everyone has them, everyone has the caliber. The 5.56 is probably the most common rifle caliber in the United States. And that's the main reason why I think the AR-15 would be an amazing choice. You can see there's like no recoil, really soft shooting, really pleasant to shoot. Making it rain. Kids can even shoot them and not be traumatized by the recoil. Pretty much anyone can shoot an AR-15, and if this were to actually go down, the ammo availability would probably be better than any other caliber. You're obviously not going to be able to go to the store and buy more ammo, so the AR-15 would be a great choice for sure. Well, since we're talking about the Russians invading, another obvious choice that we have to put on the list is the 7.62 AK, the AK-47, AKM, whatever you want to call it. And if you think about ammo availability, this would probably not be as common as 5.56, but think about battlefield pickups. Most of these Russians are probably gonna have either 7.62 or 5.45 AKs. So while your neighbors wouldn't have it, the bad guys would. And if you did some battlefield pickups, this is probably the ammo that you're gonna get. So you can see a little more recoil than the AR-15, not much, but definitely noticeable. But it also has advantages, like barrier penetration. It's a more powerful round. Obviously with more recoil, you get more energy downrange as well. I don't think inexperienced shooters would do as well with something like this just because it does have more recoil than an AR, but there are tons of AKs in the country, and like I said, this would be the caliber that the enemy had, so ammo would probably be pretty available as well. Plus, they're as reliable as any rifle on the planet. The AK alongside the AR would absolutely be at the top of my list. So those of you that watch the channel had to know this one was coming, the AK-74. This is one of my favorite rifles, and I believe a lot of the Russian military has switched to the AK-74 from the AK-47, although I still see a bunch of 7.62 guns as well. So the 5.45 is basically just a smaller 22 caliber version of the AK round, and ballistically it's very similar to the 5.56. It gets much better long range performance. It's going a lot faster. It's also lighter weight, so you can carry more of it than the 7.62, and it definitely seems to get the job done. So you get most of the benefits that you get from a 7.62 AK, like reliability and stuff like that, minus maybe the barrier penetration, with a lot of the benefits that you get from an AR-15, like, you know, better long range performance, lighter weight ammo, less recoil, stuff like that. And I absolutely love the AK-74. So you can see it might have even less recoil than an AR-15. I think it does. It might just be the muzzle brake on the end of this one, but it really doesn't move at all. Such an easy gun to stay on target with. Now the 5.45 in America is not nearly as available as the 5.56 or even the 7.62, but if we're talking about Russians invading the country, a lot of them would be using AK-74s, and as reliable as AR-15s are, I still think AKs can be neglected for longer and run more reliably than an AR-15. So the AK-74 would also be right there at the top of my list. All right, so there's one more very important box that we haven't checked yet, and that is a good long-range rifle. So there's obviously a bunch of different calibers that could fill this role, but for the video, we're gonna use the 308. Contact! He's down. All right, guys, well, I guess I have to pick one since that's kind of how these videos go, and this is probably gonna ruffle some feathers, but believe it or not, I would take the AK-74, yes, over the AR-15. I realize the ammo situation would not be as good in the AK-74 as it would be for the AR, but I just love shooting this gun, and I like the way it shoots that much more. It's literally my favorite rifle to shoot, and I don't think I would take anything over the AK-74. Plus, I have so much ammo for it, I wouldn't really have to worry about that unless things got really hairy. And if I'm, you know, shooting 10,000 rounds and I'm still alive, then write a book about me because I'm going down in history at that point. All these guns are very reliable, but AKs are about as reliable as it gets, and obviously that's extremely important. So my personal choice would be the AK-74, but feel free to let me know in the comments why I'm wrong and why you would pick something else. I'd be glad to hear from you guys. As always, if you like the video, please let me know down in the comments below and hit that like button for me, guys. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.